Hello there. Welcome to my free mini course, Get to the Root of Your Symptoms. So today is day 2. Yesterday was day 1, and we talked about the body. So when I say getting to the root of your symptoms, what it means to me is getting beyond the band-aid fixes and solutions, whether you have brain fog, hormonal imbalances, blood sugar issues, gut problems, whether it's your skin or bloating or depression, anxiety, it doesn't really matter. What I really wish to help you to do is to no longer need those band-aid solutions like that. It doesn't have to be medication, but it could also be like those supplements that we feel like we depend on, or like any superfood or whatever other tip or new craze of du jour is. So we want to go beyond that and really get to the root of your symptoms. And we are focusing this week on our 4 main roots that actually make up the 4 layers of our body. And that is your body, your mind, your heart, and soul. Yesterday, we talked about the body and the 5 toxins that can make it harder for that root to function optimally, and how to replace that with nutrients that will better nourish that root and help your physical body be healthier and stronger. And today we'll talk about the second root, that is the topic of this course this week, and it is your mind. Because there is a lot happening there. I intend to spend about 20 to 30 minutes a day. Yesterday was a bit longer, but I think that we should be within 20 to 30 minutes today. All right, so just a disclaimer, this is not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any conditions, and always work with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your protocol or treatment plan. Okay, so grab a journal, a few pieces of paper if you feel like you want to take notes, and also because there will be a short exercises to help you figure out which of these 5 toxins might be affecting your mind the most, and which one you should or could replace with a nutrient that will be more nurturing and nourishing to that root that is your mind. Who am I first? Just in case you didn't watch yesterday's video, my name is Aglaé Jacob. You can call me AJ too. I'm your non-diet dietitian, heart and soul nutritionist, and self-love guide. I had many different health issues myself, suffering from brain fog, a lot of pretty chronic digestive issues, as well as hormonal imbalances like PCOS, which stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I managed to use a real food-based approach and a holistic strategy. And for me, holistic, I talked about it yesterday, doesn't mean necessarily to just look at the whole body. It goes beyond that, and including also the mind, the heart, and the soul. And this is what I will teach you a lot about this week. So let's get started with the 5 main toxins that might be preventing your mind. So those are your thoughts and the way you think. This affects directly the way your physical body works in, changing your nervous system, whether it is by activating the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight or freeze nervous system that is activated in times of stress, or even when you have stressful thoughts. And that is not the best nervous system to be operating under, because it causes, it switches off the other nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest, heal, and digest nervous system that we want to be operating under the majority of the time, because that's where we can better digest and absorb the nutrients our body needs to better function. It's also how our body can better maintain, repair, and heal. And so the way we think, our mind, our thoughts can all affect that. And That's what we'll be talking about today. So, okay, so I'll go through 5 of the most common toxins I see in the mind of the people I work with. Okay, I'll write it down here. And by the way, you're welcome to say hi. I'd love to hear from you if you're watching live or the recording. Tell me where you're from, and if there are any of these toxins that resonate with you today and that you feel might be putting a barrier in on your healing journey. So I'm trying to write at the same time as I'm talking, and my brain is not able to do that all the time. Okay, Okay, so the first toxin that is in the mind of many people I work with is, it's hard to put it into words, but it's like that broken record. It's like, hi, hello from France. Alice, bonjour. So that broken record, a lot of people actually, like, studies show that we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. I mean, that's huge. It's my brain is not even able to comprehend that, but that's what the science shows. But most of these thoughts are on autopilot. 90% of these thoughts that you have today will be the same as the one you had yesterday. And most of these thoughts are negative or not very helpful for what you want to do with your life and on your healing journey. And that is because our survival brain is just really strong, and that it's easy for a survival brain to take over and see the negativity, the fear, and base our decisions on that rather than what is truly serving us and our higher self in the end. And thinking that way, having those same negative thoughts day after day, also activates our sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight or freeze, which makes the healing and digestion and all of that a lot harder, much more harder to take place. So what can we replace that toxin with? We need to replace that with awareness. That might be not, this is probably not the sexiest topic to talk about, but it is so key, so important for anyone wanting to improve their health and their life and be the best version of themselves they can be. It really starts with awareness. It's really the first step if you want to start rewiring your brain, because we're used to having most of the 90% of our thoughts are the same one that we had yesterday, and our brain is just wired that way. It's like the autopilot. It's easy to think that way, and to break out of that box, that jail, really, we need to start rewiring our brain by becoming aware of these thoughts process. So when you think a thought, try slowing down and stopping and asking yourself, where is that thought coming from? And then you can challenge that. I really like Byron Katie's work. If you've never heard of her, you can Google her and learn a bit about her. But let's take a thought, for example. Let's say I think, I can never stick to any kind of healthy plan. I always fail. So then Byron Katie talks about 4 questions that help you. First, you need to be aware that you're having that thought, then that it shouldn't be on autopilot, but you see, oh, I'm thinking that. Why am I thinking that? So when you notice that, you can ask yourself those 4 questions from Byron Katie. The first one is it really true? Well, I mean, there were times where I was able to stick to a healthy plan, but not for very long, blah, blah, blah. So you can see that you're starting to challenge that thought. The second question is, can you absolutely know that it's true? Well, not absolutely. I'm pretending I'm the client here. Because, well, there was a time, I was able to be on an elimination diet for 3 months and I felt quite well, but, so I guess I cannot say never. Right. So that's how you can start challenging your thoughts and rewiring your brain. Then the third question is, how do you react? And what happens when you believe that thought? So we're thinking back about that thought of, I never stick to any kind of healthy plan. Well, how do I react? I feel like a victim. I feel stuck. I feel like I don't have any power, and I feel miserable pretty much. So you can think about some of the thoughts you have and answer those same questions for yourself. And then the fourth question is, who would you be without that thought? And if I think about that thought, never sticking to any kind of healthy plan, who would I be without that thought? I wouldn't put like barriers in front of me before even trying. I would not, keep thinking about all of those failures, and I would just start again and not feel discouraged before even starting. So that's just an example that I'm putting out there, but I'm referring back to a time of my life where that was very true for me. And I know that many of my clients would answer those same ways. But those 4 questions, so is it really true? Can you absolutely know that it is true? How do you react? And what happens when you believe that thought? And 4th one is, who would you be without that thought? So that's a really great way, once you become aware of some of your thoughts, to challenge them and start rewiring your brain. It may sound really subtle or silly even, but it is powerful, really, really powerful. So I really encourage you to do that. So that was the first toxin, feeling like our thoughts are just a broken records of all of the same negative thoughts that we had yesterday. A second toxin is guilt and shame. And many of us have a great deal of that in our life every day. And let me share with you a study that shows how toxic those state of minds can be for your physical body. There was a study in which there were women, some from Sweden, another group from Thailand, and they were fed, at one time, all of the women were fed a Thai meal. And of course, the women from Thailand enjoyed that meal a lot more. And what they found is that women from Thailand enjoying their meal were able to absorb twice the amount of iron. And then they repeated the same thing with a Swedish meal fed to all of these women. And that time, the women from Sweden enjoyed that meal much more and were able to absorb double the amount of iron compared to the other group. And then they did that again with the same meal. I just saw a deer around my house. They took the same meal, but they kind of mashed it up and it became like a mushy kind of meal. And whether it was the Thai meal or the Swedish meal, for all the women, the iron absorption went down. I think it was 70% because it was not enjoyable so much. So why am I talking about that? What does it have to do with guilt and shame? Well, I think that many, many, many people feel either guilt or shame when they eat. And can you see how much that can rob your body of the nutrients that are in the food you put in your mouth? So what if we could remove that toxin? Why do we have to feel guilty every time we eat? And I speak for maybe women trying to lose weight or not feeling at peace with their body. I talk about any people with health issues that feel guilty when they eat something that is not on their like autoimmune paleo protocol or their elimination diet, or it could be any kind of situations where you feel like you're not doing enough, what you're eating isn't good enough, you're not trying hard enough, and that brings out a lot of guilt and shame. So guilt is more about feeling like what you're eating is bad. Shame is deeper. It feels like it's not the behavior itself that's bad, but it's really you. You feel like you're a bad person for doing that. So that's much deeper. And that really touch on your sense of self-worth and all of that. But whether it's guilt or shame, those two ingredients don't mix well with your meals and can not only prevent you from properly absorbing the nutrients that are present in your food, but again, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, makes it harder for your body to properly digest. And that makes it more likely, if you don't digest your food well, to then have a reaction to the foods you're eating. So that's a really vicious cycle. What could we replace that with? I love to talk about how we can replace guilt and shame with pleasure, presence, and compassion. If we can enjoy our meals much more, and we have one of our listeners that's all the way from France, and in France, it's well known that they more traditionally, they would like have a real ritual around their food, and it's like something that's sacred and that they really enjoy, and the pleasure component is so important. And making your meals enjoyable, even if you're on a restricted diet, will help you better enjoy that food. And even if you eat something that may not be on your quote unquote plan, feeling enjoyment and pleasure from that meal will make it less likely that your body reacts negatively to it. And then compassion. So compassion is just like, what would you tell a friend that ate something that maybe wasn't good for her? Would you yell at her like you do to yourself? Or would you just give her a big hug and you say, I know it's hard. You're doing the best you can, and you can try again at your next meal. That's the thing with food. You always have another opportunity very soon, just around the corner, to choose to make better choices. And just to reinforce that, there was another study in which women were given donuts. And then after eating the donuts, they were offered candies. And half of the women were told, like, it's okay. I know that, some of the women feel bad for eating that donut for the study, but, it's life, it happens, it's not a big deal. Those women that were encouraged to have compassion towards that and not feel guilt and shame about eating the donut ate some candies, but, a normal amount, let's say. But the women that were not told that were not encouraged to have compassion for themselves, felt very guilty, felt a great deal of shame about it. And then they ended up binging on the candies and feeling out of control. So I'm sure that some of you can see how that plays in your own life. I can certainly, I've seen that and experienced that myself many times. So compassion, you're doing the best that you can. Repeat that to yourself. I'm doing the best that I can. And also know that you're not the only one struggling with this. Okay, third toxin here. Toxin number 3. It's the myth that health is equal to body size. Okay, so this might be a bit more controversial, and it's not. This is a belief, a myth that is implanted in our mind from a very, very young age. But the truth, the fact, the science, the studies show that we actually have very limited control over our body weight. Yes, I know all of you have been able to lose weight, most likely, but that's for a very limited period of time, most likely. And those people that are able to lose weight and maintain it over time usually need to adopt more and more drastic strategies to keep that weight off. And this all goes back to the body set point theory. I don't want to make this all about that today because I could, but the body the body set point theory just tells us that our body is meant to be kept within a pretty narrow window of about 10 to 20 pounds. If we lose weight, if our weight goes below that set point, our body is quick to adjust and adapt, it becomes, it will slow down your metabolism so you don't burn as many calories. It will change your digestive system so you absorb more calories from the foods that you eat. It will decrease your desire to move so you conserve your energy. It will make you more hungry and have more cravings so you seek out food more. And many people, I've experienced that many times. Anytime I lose weight, it becomes more and more difficult. And then you end up back into that set point range and often above. So many people ask, can you change that set point? That would be, what many people would like to do. But the truth is that study shows that we can only change the set point, body set point, one direction, and that is up. And that's by dieting. Every time we go below that body set point, our body set point will be increased and increase and increase because our body is just so smart. Our bodies are meant to make sure we survive in case of famines. And that's what our body does. So if you dieting, trying to lose weight, this is never something I talk about because there are plenty of studies showing that your body size doesn't have anything to do with your health. Yes, studies shows that, there are studies where participants are able to lose weight, but usually that's for 3, 4, 6 months. When they're followed up for longer, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, the weight always come back plus more. And also, yes, we can see that health outcomes are improved when people lose weight. But is this really because of the weight loss? Or is it because they're changing the way they eat and move and all of these other lifestyle behaviors? Well, they have done studies where they've tried, using the same strategies. In a group, they would lose weight. In another group, they wouldn't. And their health parameters were improved both ways just because of the behaviors. So what I really, I will never promise any weight loss. I never sell weight loss. That's never something I focus on and with the people I work with. And sometimes I wish I could because it's so much easier to sell. That's what people want. But people that promise you that are, I don't know, I just don't feel an integrity if I do, because I truly don't have any control over that. If you do eat healthier, maybe your body will adjust naturally and reduce your weight within that set point window that your body is comfortable to be at. But I cannot promise that. That's just a side effect. I prefer to focus on things that we have fully control over, and those are our health behaviors, how we nourish our body, our mind, our heart, and soul. And that's truly what it's all about. I know that the diet industry is a pretty big industry, a $60 billion a year industry, and I think that's in the US alone. That's that. But they make us believe that all of our problems are due to our body size. And it's not the case. There's just that strong association that health looks a certain way, looks a certain body size, but unfortunately, it is not the case. Okay. So I'll read the comments later because otherwise it's harder for me to focus, but I'll get back to them. Okay, so what can we replace that old belief that is actually false, that health equal a certain body size? We need to replace that with new belief that health doesn't have a size. Let me just write that down. Doesn't have a size, a body size. Because let me ask you this, would you care so much about your weight if you knew that it wasn't directly affecting your weight? Because that's one of the number one reason I hear when women or men are trying to lose weight because they want to get healthier. But what if you knew that it wasn't the case? Would you care so much about losing weight? And would you care so much about your weight if we didn't live in a fat-phobic society where discrimination against fat people is still accepted today in 2017? And that's very real. I had a cycle. She had an eating disorder, and now her doctor was shaming her about her weight. And yeah, I won't go into the details, but that still happens today. How is that acceptable, knowing everything we know about the fact that our weight is not a good marker of anything, and especially not our health? So just know that to ingrain that new belief, know that achieving a certain number on the scale won't make you healthier and won't make your life magically better like the diet industry promises you. Your body is not the enemy. It's really doing the best that it can. Stop fighting your body. Your body is not the enemy. Make it an ally by nourishing it and feeding nice thoughts to yourself too. And we know that fighting against your body is only making it worse because it adds physical stress, mental stress, and emotional stress as well. And you can be healthy at any size. You can be healthier today at the size you're at right now. So let's focus on that. Okay, toxin number 4. It is labeling everything. Labeling things as being good versus bad, or ourselves as being good or bad, or food as being healthy or not healthy, or poison even. So this is really part of the black and white mentality, the all or nothing mentality. So let's tell me a few examples of thoughts that might be around that. Okay, so I've been bad because I ate one cookie. So usually that leads to us thinking, well, I might as well eat them all because I'm bad already. I looked at that cake, so therefore I'm bad and weak, so I should punish myself by forcing myself to eat it all. I can only be good and healthy if I eat X amount of calories and exercise X amount of hours every day. So setting the bar really high. If we don't reach that, then we're bad. So we're setting ourselves up for failure. Yeah, I think there was a kind of a disconnection with the live, but it will be recorded and people will be able to watch later. Then, if I don't work out for at least an hour, then it doesn't count. Again, that's black and white mentality. I can never stick to anything. Never, those absolute never, always, all, nothing, black, white. We need to get rid of those. So what do we replace that with? We need to learn to embrace the gray. We need to break free of that broken record, that first toxin we talked about, and become more aware of our thoughts. That's the first step. And then we need to start deleting those old rules and old programmings that are no longer serving us. And that's done by no longer judging ourselves. Tara Brach, I love her work. She talks about the 2 wings of awareness and mindfulness. And you can look at awareness like a bird. And one wing is understanding and the other wing is compassion. So first, when you look at some of these thoughts, that black and white mentality, let's say if I don't work out for an hour, it doesn't count. So the first wing is understanding. So how can you understand that? Well, some people have told me that. And then when I track my physical activity and my food journal, it tells me that I need to burn X amount of calories and blah, blah, blah. So just trying to understand where that thought comes from. And then the other wing is compassion and say, oh, I understand where you're coming from. So that's been there for a long time. And I'm pretty sure you're not the only one with that thought. And it's okay. Let's try to delete that thought because it's not serving us. So that's, I personally dealt with an eating disorder, and I've had many of those thoughts every day, every hour, every minute of my day. And stopping judging myself so much for what I was thinking and what I was doing was really the first biggest, hardest, and scariest step that I had to take to heal my eating disorder. But even whether you have an eating disorder or not, it doesn't really matter. But embracing the gray instead of being stuck in the black and white and labeling things as good or bad, or yourself as being good or bad, and not judging so much, and just having those two wings of awareness, understanding and compassion. See how that can help you in your life. Let's move on to the 5th toxin, which is lack of, I think I spelled it right, lack of spaciousness. In today's society, most of us are busy, moving from one thing to another. Even during our downtime, like most people are busy watching Netflix and then scrolling on social medias at the same time. Or if they're commuting or working out, they're listening to a podcast at the same time and texting some people. We eat in front of the TV. Even if we're waiting in line, at every minute we pull out our phone and distract ourselves with that. So we have very, very little time to create that space in our mind. And spaciousness is really the main nutrient that our mind actually craves. It needs spaciousness. And most people, when they do spend quiet times, they end up ruminating about those same old thoughts that they were thinking yesterday, just going back to that first toxin, the broken record. So how can we create more spaciousness in our life? Because that's really, again, the best way to nourish our mind. We can create that by becoming more aware of that broken record, those thoughts that are in our head. We can do that by reconnecting with our body, because our body, your body, even your body, yes, holds an incredible amount of inner wisdom. And then reconnecting with your intuition is so helpful. I know it sounds silly or maybe impossible to do, but everybody can do that, I swear. And that can help you feel more comfortable creating spaciousness, because I get it. It feels scary to have spaciousness and sitting still and quiet, because you're not sure how to handle all of these thoughts. But I promise that it's something just like a muscle you haven't strengthened in a long time. You can strengthen that muscle. So you can start very small. You can start with 1, 2, 3 minutes of nothing, of spaciousness, and slowly build up. And it will feel less and less scary, more and more natural, and more nurturing and nourishing. So make sure you turn off all electronics and distractions. Be in a space where you'll feel grounded and quiet. Personally, I love to be outside in nature, but that could also be yoga in a yoga studio. I find that if I try to do yoga at home, it's really hard because there's just so many distractions. In a studio, there's that safe space where I can create that spaciousness in my mind. Or meditation for some people. There are some really cool apps like Headspace or Calm that you can get for free and try it out for 1, 2, 3, 5 minutes. And then slowly build up from that, depending on how you feel. And that spaciousness, I swear, will change your life. It has changed mine. So those are the 5 toxins that I see the most in people's minds. So just to recap, and grab your journal or a piece of paper and write them down. First was the broken record of having those same old thoughts every day on autopilot. Second one was guilt and shame about our food, our behaviors, our choices. The third one was the myth and the old belief that health equals a certain body size. And we now know that it is not true, and that you can be healthier today at the body size you're at right now. The fourth one was about labeling things as being good or bad, healthy, unhealthy, even labeling ourselves as being good or naughty. And then the 5th toxin was the lack of spaciousness, because spaciousness is what truly nourishes and nurtures our mind. So I'm curious to hear which of these 5 toxins are affecting your roots and might be at the root of your symptoms. Which do you feel are more present in your life right now? Circle the ones that you see might be a problem in your life and on your healing journey, and pick one, just one. Focus, again, is really important. Yesterday, we decided to focus on only one of the 5 toxins affecting the body. Today, we'll do the same, focusing on only one toxin affecting your mind, and then trying to find something to replace it with. If it's the broken record, change it for more awareness and using Byron Katie's 4 questions that we talked about. If it's the guilt and shame, replace that with compassion and pleasure and presence and enjoyment as much as you can. If it's the myth that health means a certain body size, repeat to yourself every day that you can be healthier today at the size you're at right now. If it's the labeling and black and white mentality, then starting to embrace the gray and using the wings of awareness of Tara Brach with the understanding and compassion. So really starting paying more attention to your thoughts and beliefs. And then if it's lack of spaciousness, replacing that with stillness and quiet time will be a huge game changer. So let me know which of these 5 toxins you're deciding to focus on and what you're going to replace it with in the comments below. I'd love to hear. And tomorrow, day 3, we'll talk about the heart and emotions, because our thoughts affects our emotions and affects our behaviors and our reality and our physical body. It's so closely intertwined, just like the roots. They make us who we are. So I hope you're enjoying this free mini course so far, and I look forward to see you again very soon. Bye.